Good evening. This is the meeting of the Borough of Highlands Mayor and Council, regular meeting on Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times, and by posting at the Borough of Highlands Municipal Building and filing with the Borough Clerk, all on January 1st, 2024. Items listed on the agenda are subject to change. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now do roll call. Councilmember Cervantes.
Here.
Councilmember Chalak.
Here.
Councilmember Melnick.
Here.
Council President Shesky. Here. Mayor Brulan.
Here.
First, we have oath of office. Joseph D. Concenso.
Just a little bit. Now, repeat after me. I state your name.
Joseph D. Crescenzo.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and the governments
to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully
impartially, and justly perform
and justly
all the duties of the office of Shade Tree Commissioner, Shade Tree Commission Member, and Tree Commissioner. Commissioner
and
Tree Commission,
Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God. Congratulations. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it. You got it. Okay, do we have an offering for the July 17th minutes?
I'll offer them.
I'll second.
Councilmember Cervantes.
Yes.
Councilman Chalak.
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick.
Abstain.
Council President Shesky.
Yes.
Mayor Brulan.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve July 17, 2024 meeting minutes. Next, we have July 17, 2024 executive session minutes.
I'll offer those. I'll second it.
Councilmember Cervantes.
Yes.
Councilman Chalak.
Yes.
Councilman Melnick.
Abstain.
Council President Shesky.
Yes.
Mayor Brulan.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve July 17, 2024 executive session minutes. Next, we have introduction of proposed ordinance 1224-14, amending Chapter 11, Uniform Fire Code, Section 11-4, Organization, Section 11-7, Non-Life Hazard Uses, Section 11-8, Smoke Detector Inspection Fees, and Section 11-9, Permit Fees.
This is just updating the ordinance, as well as, now that we have our new building department, having the housing official answer directly to the construction official. Are there any questions from the table here? Then with that, I will offer it. I'll second.
Councilmember Cervantes.
Yes.
Councilman Chalak.
Yes.
Councilman Melnick.
Yes.
Council President Shesky.
Yes.
Mayor Brulan.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass O2414 on first reading with a public hearing to be held on September 4th, 2024. Next, we have O2415, adopting the amended Central Business District redevelopment plan pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law NJSA 40A:12A-1 et seq.
This one is to update this plan, again, using our building department. They thoroughly reviewed it. We did not have our own building department at the time this plan was first adopted. So what we did is we streamlined some language, making it more user-friendly for people to understand, and included some more uses. Any questions on that one? No? Then I will offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Cervantes.
Yes.
Councilman Gilat.
Yes.
Councilor Melnick.
Yes.
Council President Yashewski.
Yes.
Mayor Bulan.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass O2415 on first reading with a public hearing to be held on September 4th, 2024. Next, we have resolutions.
Wait, Nancy, this has to go to the land use board, so it needs to be transmitted to the board for them to hear it
So
at their
probably
meeting in
October.
September.
Right, so then the public hearing will be October.
It would be the second meeting of September would be the public hearing. I believe the land use, the land use board is September 12th.
Right, but they have to memorialize it. So it'll be 2 months.
Doesn't October?
So it'll be in October.
So that would be the October 2nd? I was going to say, can't they, well, I would ask that this be transmitted tomorrow to the board members. That way they have ample time to review it, and then they could discuss and have that resolution ready.
So September 18th,
Mhm.
which is the public hearing.
Yes.
Thank you. Oops, probably not on September 18th. Got it. All right. So the public hearing will be on September 18th, 2024. Next, we have resolutions R24-147, amending Resolution 24-119 entitled Approving Renewal of Liquor Licenses for the 2024-2025 term as pertains to liquor license 1317-33-024-017.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Cervantes.
Abstain.
Councilmember Gilat.
Yes.
Councilor Melnick.
Yes.
Council President Yashewski.
Yes.
Mayor Bulan.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt Resolution R24-147. Next, we have consent agenda. Mayor, would you like me to read the resolutions by title?
Yes, please.
R24-148, Community Development Block Grant Resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a project agreement with the Monmouth County for performance and delivery of fiscal year 2024 community development projects. R24-149, Community Development Block Grant Resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a certification prohibiting the use of excessive force and a certification prohibiting the use of federal funds for lobbying. R24-150, accepting bid for the sale of Block 101, Lot 3.02 in the Borough of Highlands, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey. R24-151, approving change order number 5 for Phase 1 sanitary sewer improvements project. R24-152, appointing a Shade Tree Commission member and appointing tree commissioner. R24-153, authorizing an extension to pay taxes to September 6, 2024. R24-154, authorizing payment of bills. R24-155, authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract for professional engineering design services for the Washington Avenue Improvements Project. R24-156, authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract for professional services in connection with a USDOT Reconnecting Communities grant application. R24-157, approving closeout change order and declaring acceptance of contract for drainage repairs project at 88-6 Portland Road. R24-158, cancel tax overpayments.
Okay, I just want to go over a couple of things. The first item on the consent agenda for the Community Development Block Grant is for the other side of Marine Place, where we have the raised platform and the raised concrete platform. So we're just doing the other side this time. This is the side that's on the Cedric side of Marine Place. Adrian, going through these, Washington Avenue, this has been something that the folks of Washington Avenue have been looking for since Sandy, and that is to mill and pave that street. It's in dire need of it, so we are going to take a look at that and try to get that done in this year. The professional services for the U.S. Department of Transportation Reconnecting Communities grant application is a planning grant, and that is for looking into the feasibility of building a bikeway, walkway over Route 36 connecting from where the grammar school is with Kavoujan Field. So it would make it a lot less dangerous, as currently kids and some older kids, namely adults, like to frogger across the road, which is a 4-lane highway and is incredibly dangerous. So we're looking for this planning grant to see if we can't make that a reality. The change order change for drainage project was because quantities were different, so it was a little bit more, I want to say about $3,000 more. Does anyone have any other questions on the consent agenda?
No.
Okay. And then with that, I will offer it.
Second.
Councilmember Cervantes.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilat.
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick.
Yes.
Council President Chesky.
Yes.
Mayor Bulan.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt resolutions R-24-148 through R-24-158. Next, we have other business, home and land request for easement.
Okay, before we get started, Andy, if you could please.
Absolutely. So, right now, we're going to have a public hearing. The applicants here, Home and Land Development Corp., have requested to utilize portions of the borough's right-of-way in association with an ongoing land use application. Just want to give a couple ground rules. I know we have parties on either side here tonight. We're not going to be doing any formal swearing in of witnesses. We're not marking exhibits, anything along those lines. You'll have the opportunity to present anything you want to present. Any members of the public will also have an opportunity to weigh in after you've done so, and we'll give you just an opportunity to close once everyone's had their say. I will note that any presentations should be limited to what's specifically being requested of the governing body. It shouldn't be a complete rehash of the land use application. Nor should it be a review of the history of the properties. Let's focus on exactly what's going on and what's being requested tonight from the governing body. Any questions, any thoughts? Otherwise,
Thank you, fair enough.
all right.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Evan Zimmerman. I'm an attorney on behalf of the property owner of Homes and Land Development Corp. The applicant owns property on North Peak Street in the borough. And we're here tonight to seek the council's approval for two aspects of a proposed plan that's in front of the borough's land use board currently. So here you'll see this is the cover sheet for the plans. The applicant's two properties are located here on North Peak Street, and it's at the terminus of North Peak Street. The applicant proposes a subdivision to adjust the lot line that currently exists between these two lots and to build two new single-family homes on those lots. In connection with the proposed development, the applicant proposes improvements along the property's frontage in North Peak Street. In approximately 2017, the borough did improvements on North Peak Street, which reoriented the roadway slightly to encroach on the applicant's property. There's a timber retaining wall at the terminus of North Peak Street that turns onto the applicant's property here and holds the slope from coming down this way. The applicant proposes to basically reorient the roadway back into the right-of-way and to reconstruct what's now a timber retaining wall with a cast retaining wall. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect of this proposal relates to the sewer service. So the home that was previously on this property was serviced by septic. The home has since been demolished in anticipation of development. And any new home, since this is in a sewer service area, needs to connect to sewer infrastructure. Rather than going through North Peak Street, which doesn't have existing sewer infrastructure, there is a unnamed right-of-way at the rear of the properties that connects down to Valley Ave. So the applicant proposes to run their sewer connection through this right-of-way and then to Elliott. That's the long and short of the application. With me tonight is Charles Barku. He's the president of the property owner. He'd like to address a little bit of the history and give you the proposal on where we're going. And then I have Frank.
Excuse me, we've just stated that we're not dealing with history and we're not making a land use application here. We are only dealing with those two aspects of the application, what's going to happen in the right-of-way.
If it's your preference to go straight to our engineer, he's here to present the plans and tell you what the improvements are.
Okay.
Frank?
Good evening. The improvements are shown on the plan north of this sheet, which is the plot plan for the two single-family home. It also shows the improvements in North Peach Street and a portion of the improvements to the rear of the site to the unnamed right. The improvements to the north in North Peach Street again are a concrete retaining wall that is proposed to be constructed and move an existing timber retaining wall further from the applicant's property, which will allow for vehicular access onto the site without crossing through neighboring lots, and generally puts North Peach Street back in North Peach Street. I'm going to refer to a marked up copy of what was the survey that serves as a basis for the application. To keep it simple, I've got three colors on the sheet. The existing home is in this lower right-hand corner of the lot. The remainder of the lot has various other improvements on it. But the road, North Peach Street itself, actually crosses onto lots 8 and 9, circled in blue, generally. And then the existing retaining wall is shown in pink. And then the pink portion is the portion that's in North Peach Street. There's also a portion of this retaining wall that extends onto the applicant's property, which is shown in red. The proposal, again, is to move these improvements sort of back into the right-of-way, where such improvements would be expected to be found. We find roads in the right-of-way, we find the retaining walls necessary to construct those roads also similarly in the right-of-way. The existing walls, the distance between the existing wall and the property line today is about 6 feet, which isn't wide enough to drive a car through, and as a result, you have to maintain some sort of cross-access agreement between lots 8 and 9 to maintain vehicular access to lot 9, which may have been acceptable at the time that this was constructed, but we feel this could be an improvement over the existing condition. The other portion of the other thing that we're here to discuss this evening is the sewer. One of the sheets. Here we go. So the sewer extends off the rear of the property. So we're not seeing North Peach Street on this sheet, but we are looking at the unnamed right-of-way to the rear, as it extends across the rear of these lots, and then I believe it sort of runs south or southeast toward Valley. The proposal for this portion of the right-of-way includes, will ultimately be a treatment work application that will be reviewed in its technical capacity by the DEP for a sewer main extension, is what it will be classified as. As a result, it will need to comply with the DEP's requirements for the sewer main extension. And again, let me point out, this unnamed right-of-way is ostensibly exactly for this purpose. It doesn't appear to be an old paper street. The right-of-way is only about 10 feet wide at its widest, and it narrows to 6 feet between where it turns 90 degrees and actually runs through Valley Avenue. So at some point, it seems as though this right-of-way was created for explicitly this purpose, if not one very similar to it, to run utilities and whatnot from North Peach Street to Valley. The wall will be built and maintained, the wall and the sewer will be built and maintained by the applicant. We would expect that there would also be a maintenance bond and maintenance related for these improvements as well. The specifics of which would be worked out between the applicant and the council of the property and the developers agreement. very typical for this kind of work. We haven't completed all of the design of the sewer, or all of the design of the wall, but there is wall design. This work is underway. The wall is designed, the geotechnical work is done. We're not all the I's dotted and T's crossed, but to get back in front of the land use board, hopefully to obtain an approval, we're here tonight to make sure that the council is also aware of the improvements that are being proposed in the right of way. A little bit, maybe a little bit atypical. Usually, you may see this sort of after the land use board has granted an approval, subject to the condition of outside agency review, which for their purposes would be include the municipality and the record of road opening, utility permits, reviewed by your engineer, reviewed with the developer agreement by your attorneys, and similar improvements. So I believe that covers two bits that we needed to cover.
Okay, thank you. I do have one question. You had mentioned that the previous building that has since been raised, R-A-Z-E-D, had septic. There is no application nor approval for removal of that septic system, so can anybody tell us where that septic tank is? And if it has been removed, or if it is still buried in the earth?
Let's see if I can identify it. I believe it may have been incorporated or identified on a survey that was submitted as part of the land use board application. I am unsure right at this moment exactly where that septic system is. Can you point the plan and tell us where it is?
It's right where the temporary street is, it's right under. It's right where the street, where they put the 6-foot street, it's right under.
So it's up in this, almost near the shared property line near North Peak Street.
I haven't walked out on a survey.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions
so just-
before I ask
just-
Joe to chime in?
It's still there or it's removed?
Yeah, so I demoed that house,
Mm-hmm.
I got the full complete demo, and it stopped me, so we took here the hill to remove it. It's still there, and it's still, they built some kind of wall, a wood wall on top of it, you have to mix it up. Wouldn't happen back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to move the wall.
Got it. And that's part of the plan too, to remove that? Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Joe, if we could add in your comments?
Yeah, we're asked to review on behalf of our, I think the Valerie was asked to review this plan as well as specifically to the items that were mentioned tonight that were discussed. The only concerns that we have, again, they're limited, but they're significant because of our work. There's an existing drainage system that's shown on this plan that is open at night that daylights above grade, above ground into a curve and gutter that continues down North Peak. Proposed improvements, they're not on there. So I understand that in my mind, the only thing that would be, I guess, in the next design, as was stated by the applicant, they're not done with design, but they're not going to have a freestanding pipe under the road that they're expanding. So my thought is that that drainage system has to go further into the slope, behind the tank. And I guess without looking at the specifics of the retaining wall, but rather it would be a retaining wall, typically at this size. Right now, there's a 4-foot timber timber wall, very low level. Could have been done by the borough, could have been done by the resident. It kind of looks like it ties into the property. I don't know. It wasn't there. But that type of wall would probably need somewhat of geogrid. So if you're doing something with slope, that means you got to tie in the geogrid imagine like a very carbon fiber snow fence.
Yeah. This is not a brick wall being put up there.
So it's gonna be freestanding.
Yeah, it's a structural wall that weighs on 2,000 pounds apiece.
Okay.
It's not a brick, wall, that's fabricated and engineered. I have a whole engineering done for it. With the drainage behind the wall, to fix that fact that's going nowhere to the street. Yes.
So my assumption is that the drainage would go into the existing manhole. So that's at elevation 161. The inverted pipe is at elevation 145. So that is a significant trench in terms of excavation. Look at that means the inlet is probably at the top of the TV. You gotta come down the way. So that's a heavy amount of construction and activity along a slope that has not been destabilized, because there is vegetation there, that slope is maintained right now by nature. So those are the concerns that come to mind. As far as well as constructability, it is a very tight space. So in terms of bringing up the proper equipment to trench that out, to go 15 feet, and then it's not clear how deep they have to go in, but they're gonna have, I don't think they're just gonna push the wall up against the slope and call it bed. So you gotta be on the other side of it, and then you gotta be in the drainage, backfill, compact, and then tie it into the open end curb and gutter that exists. The other concern that I have is, as far as the sanitary, due to the fact that the drops are 7.5 feet, again, I don't know if you saw that, but it's another 1.5 on top of me. That means we're going to need serious manholes if the borough is going to eventually maintain this, which I don't know if that's the intent, but we're talking about having 6 manholes dropping 7.5 feet in elevation. So if there's an issue where they need to get in there, DPW will have to have ladder runs, safety, OSHA, all that. This type of easement is very thin. In my mind, I look at it as probably developed for overhead wires. You put in a pole, you can get access with a bucket truck. Typically sanitary improvements are not done through grass areas, they're usually done by road. So that's kind of my long and short of my concerns. Constructability really lies in constructability and its impacts to the neighbors. There's also a retaining wall that's going to be on top of the sanitary, and if it's a freestanding wall that you're mentioning, that's meant for all this weight, what does that do to the sanitary as far as cover? Again, we don't have those details, because the plans are basically cleanouts that you have in your house. This is going to be a TWA, which means it's an 8-inch main for the manholes. Manholes are 5 feet wide, and they come up in a 3-foot access edge. So we're talking major construction. We're talking major impacts to slope, and then major maintenance eventually, unless something happens with the developer's group, that the borough may be liable for that work.
Any questions for Joe Rafferty? No.
Very clear.
If I may ask your engineer, have you, and I've asked this question before, I still haven't gotten an answer. Have you considered making these improvements not in our right-of-way? Running your sewer on your own property instead of viewing the borough's property so that the borough does not get encumbered by this project and by...
The issue of sewer is not easily solved on any one property. In particular because it has to end up in sewer treatment plant. So typically, we'd end up putting it into the sewer that would usually be along the frontage. Sometimes they're in shared sort of rear yards. But it's very common to have a situation where sewers would run through North Peak Street and you would be able to connect with a typical lateral connection, or maybe even a pump connection, but a connection out to North Peak Street. That's impossible. There is no sewer, to my knowledge, on North Peak Street. As a result, we're left to find the best solution that is for, again, 2 single-family homes and trenching all the way down North Peak Street to Valley where it intersects. Presumably there is sewer somewhere here. Seems like it's a serious construction project for 2 single-family homes. And then the other option you have to look at is an on-site sewer treatment plant, which is, again, a sort of a non-starter for a single-family home, and the third one would be septic, but you can't do septic in an area where you're already in sewer service area unless it's completely, literally impossible. Typically, is kind of how that application gets reviewed. If anybody has any experience to the contrary, I'd love to hear it. If we found a better way to do it, that's what we would be doing. But we feel that this is the best solution for this piece of property in this location, given the set of circumstances that we're in. As for the retaining wall, not moving the retaining wall, we're constructing the improvements without moving the presents an issue regarding access in the front. Again, that retaining wall is only about 6 feet from the property line of lot 8, and you can't park a car on the driveway in less than 90. So I mean, we would be forced to have multiple sort of cross-access agreements. There would be complicated grading further on site and regular use of the properties. And really, the right way is where the street should be. It seems as though the retaining wall, when it was constructed, was built to solve the problem. And it's done it. It's done its job. It solved the problem. It's on its last legs. It probably needs to get replaced at some point. It's a timber wall. So we are presenting an improvement in that regard, an improvement to the wall. It's a concrete wall. It's going to last many, many years, and with very minimal maintenance with that matter too. And the applicant has considerable experience constructing similar walls on multiple properties, to my knowledge, not only in Highlands, but in other areas of the state. And I believe the applicant is confident that they can complete this construction, otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a plan that they can't.
Okay. Anyone else? Don?
Was this the plan from initial onset when you destroyed or raised the old house? Like, or did you discover this problem somewhere along the way? Like, to me, this seems like, can I finish the question? I want to finish my question, though.
Could you let the man finish his question?
This seems like a significant challenge, and you seem like a very experienced builder. How would you not know this is a problem from the start?
I disagree framing it as a...
Not having to...
It's a challenge.
Yeah, sure you can. I'm just saying, it seems like it would have been known.
Why didn't we do something somewhere else or something else? The applicant owns property that they want to improve commensurate with other properties in and around the area. They want to provide an attractive home, a single-family home that they want to sell. They want to make money, in addition to the fact that they live in the area or are frequently in this area, building in the area, they want to maintain a reputation. They want to build an attractive development, 2 homes on 2 lots, and the wall's a challenge, the slope's a challenge. When we've identified solutions, what we're looking for is, we're not done designing this, right? We still have a little work to do, we have some other improvements or permits to obtain, but we're looking for your consent to continue refining the solution. The board has put a prerequisite on us to obtain sort of your consent to move forward with the application, considering it has improvements in the right of way, without granting the underlying land use. So it puts us kind of between a rock and a hard place. The board won't act unless you agree to consent to at least entertain the act. We'll have to think about it. You're going to have to make building permit submissions. There's going to be road opening permits. Joseph's going to get it, but Mr. Ashley's going to get an opportunity to review these plans as they come in. You can review the TWA, I would imagine, unless there's another individual that reviews that on behalf of the borough. Before it even goes to they review that application, consent to that, then it goes to the treatment authority, then it goes to the DEP. They do their technical. So this isn't the last stop, but it lets us get off the box and get through what we hope to be a successful land use application by having the consent to continue showing these improvements in the budget.
I want to make a question. On 10/7/2021, and we're talking now a month, I got a sewer connection fee, I paid $57 Street excavation fee, I paid in 21, the $200. I also gave a deposit and a bond, $500. I also got 2 sewer connections, I'm registering now for 2 sewer connections. You asked me, why would I take a gamble and see if I go down that? Number 10, which is the house next door to me, already has a sewer line going down that property. That is, there's already a sewer line, number 10. 10 uses it. There's a black ABS 3-inch sewer line. So I saw that was like to put mine next to hers. So she's already in the easement, doing what I want to do. So it's not like I'm making a decision. So I went down to the town, I went to PM, and they gave me a drawing there of the sewer easement allowed area. And that's why I went down and paid for it, and took care of that. Now, let's talk about the wall. In 2017, at the moment, in 2017, the town did renovate the street, and they put street curb in. Didn't do right, but because they didn't want to build a wall. So they built a wood wall, a wood timber wall, 4 foot, makeshift. So one day it's going to fall down, and one day the water's going to fall down the street, so it'll come across the property that I have, and down the street. It's already doing it. So I've been putting straw bales up there, trying to control the leak, which is a major flood. And I got it under control almost, and I just can't do it. Look at straw bales, maybe 50. And I also have the homeowner trying to stop his problem. I see why he's pissed, because I think the water to stop. Unless I build this wall, and I put the drainage for the pipe they kind of put up there, that's not properly installed, and let me connect it to the back of the wall. I would say, right now, we're up in South Amboy. 14-foot high wall on a cliff by homes. It's all gone. So I'm very good at my drains, I'm very good at my walls. I just need you guys to trust me to let me put this wall up and solve the flooding down there. I can't solve all the flooding down there, it's coming from Monmouth Hills. It's dumping all the water across down the hill. So I'm just right now concerned about number 10, so I don't impact her, and the people behind my house. After that, the other house down the street, they have water pouring down. They actually didn't want there too, or something has to do something. So I took the video, so every time it floods. And I can tell you the red spot, I don't know whose house, the Monmouth Hills, but they're dumping. They dump the water, basically. So you go in to see where the brush comes in. I have to do this. I know which house they are. I'm not going to this. That's not my problem. My problem is to stop the water to where we are, to get there, and then you guys come to Monmouth Hills and say, hey, you guys can fix the problem. So somehow, somebody, years ago, let a wall be built because they didn't want to pay for the real wall. I'm going to do the real wall and stop the issue. And now stop all the water from pouring down, coming across my property, going down the hill. So until we fix this wall, I'm never going to stop the problem. I can build all over my property, unless I go that long property, where it's supposed to go. We're never going to fix the problem. Never fix it. Never fix it. So that's the problem, is the wall has to be built. ASAP, was that 4x4 wall, and I bought the property from a estate, Jerry
Feliciano.
Never met him, but he was pissed when the guys put that wall up, and he blocked it so that no one could go into Mr.
Diebold.
Yeah.
Diebold.
Okay. So, he got mad because that's not good. Whoever did it, blocked, had to use Feliciano's property to get to his property, so he couldn't walk the block. So I went to that neighbor and I said, listen, I'm going to take the wall, and now he wants his access back. So if himself, and if a fire truck comes up to his house with a fire, they're not getting up that hill from that 6th Avenue, he should get up the street to get to his house. So there's a lot of things that wall is needed. But I don't want to fight, I just want to build a wall and make it one happen. But until we do it, he's not going to be a happy guy. I don't get my job started, and we have water problems. That's it. I'm good at it. I'm good at what I do, I'm going to get it done. You mentioned that catch basin at the top.
Yes.
It was a, I don't know, it was bad. It looks like a painted it, really. It's not done. It needs to be connected to a drain in the back, behind the wall, and the one is an engineered wall, engineered. There's no geogrid. A geogrid, like you said, if I want to put a geogrid, I'm going that high wall, a geogrid will go 30 feet into the wall. I get the whole mountain out. We're not doing that. We're just doing the same as they do like the one big walkway. They're cheap. They're very expensive. I'm spending almost 50,000 on that wall. That makes my property look good, stop the work on, stops them from falling. It's good. So that's why I committed, forget the weather, I want to say drastic stuff. Someone has to build the wall, I'm going to build it for the town. Let me do it, I'll solve the issue. That's what, if you guys are going to go to a storm, those are the words, what's down the hill. It's never going to stop. I don't care what, I can put all the big buildings put up there, I'm just going to band-aid on it. That's the problem. So we need to get this wall built. Okay, let's go back to, now I know there's no on this property, I understand that, what is happening to you? So I can say, yes, one person's property, I power wash it, close it up, I go back to, if it happens again, it's dead, you know, I can't stop it. Let's let me build this one, let's stop it. Never gonna stop. Never gonna stop. So, I'm sorry. Fine. This is gonna build a wall. So what's the expensive wall? No, I gotta do it. Easy. So when you guys do it, I'll be back for it, I'm going to do it. I built this wall over, built a big price on Golden Road. Those beautiful. I live there, all the neighbors know me. No, I live in the house, just go back, I'm not going to. I got a lot of job here. So, that's it. No secrets.
I have a question. I know it was briefly addressed, maintenance of the sewer. I believe it was mentioned that it would be built and maintained by the applicant. What exactly is being proposed as far as maintenance? Because if I understand it correctly, Joe, it's classified essentially as a main.
Yes.
And normally mains are maintained by municipalities, but are you proposing to maintain this, whatever lines are being proposed in perpetuity?
If that's the borough's preference, then yes. I mean, you've heard from the applicant that he's willing to spend money to do it. As indicated, normally when we put the sewer main extension in the right of way, it will be dedicated to the public. However, the applicant is willing to both install and maintain all of these improvements that we're talking about tonight. And there's various ways that can be accomplished. That will be fleshed out in the developer's agreement between the property owner and the town. We talked about maintenance funds. One idea is to establish homeowners association with a single fund in it to provide financial assurance that there's going to be funds available to do the maintenance. And then, of course, all of the maintenance work that will be done by the applicant will be subject to review by the borough as itself.
And I heard 5-foot manholes thrown around there. It's a 10-foot easement. What's envisioned as far as actually what's required to maintain it? How is it going to be maintained? Are there steep slopes in the sewer easement area? Like what are we talking about?
We're looking at, since the sewer improvements are going to necessarily require PWA approval, we're also going to answer the same questions for DEP. We're currently evaluating and looking into solutions that aren't one giant 5-foot diameter piece of concrete to put the bus on the ground. I believe that Jordan has a couple ideas.
Oh, yeah. So I sat with the sewer authority before this whole thing came up, back in 2021. And they told me that 3 homes on a 6-inch ladder coming down the hill. I don't put no manhole, just like number 10 does. She has it with a couple of cleanups, but back then no one paid attention. And they said, okay, break the 8 inch, so 6-inch, 8-inch, we could fit 6-inch, 8-inch, with cleanups every 75 feet. So somehow we have to get that, and we can't put manholes up on the hill, because you have a lot of houses in this town, a lot of them, and they don't have full roads. None of them, they don't have laterals come down between us. No one has it. Nobody in this town has manholes on exits. Nobody.
The requirement will be based on the DEP's allowance.
And Joe, is that feasible, what he's describing?
The problem is, if we're talking about something that's not far right away, then it's not far away. So you have something being done in the past that is not up to the current DEP standards. They were updated in 2014, 2019. So the construction methods of the 70s were a lot different in 50 years ago. So I don't know if that's not ahead of the DEP, but would agree, but they aren't concerned with that. it's an 8-inch line, I don't think they're gonna want you to have basically a garden or something like that. So I would defer to the DEP in that CWA analysis, that could take up to 6 months. In terms of getting to the bottom of it, it's 7.5 feet, how does someone get down?
They explained to me that if this is a minor subdivision, the town engineer said, oh, this is a major subdivision, converted. But there's a minor subdivision, do allow it. Major subdivision, got to do sewers, concrete, or plastic PVC, whatever you want to do. But the problem is if I did that way, I have to work with my 6 foot. I have machines, I have everything, I have love voice. There's be a lot of manpower that won't happen. But then listen, we have to, everybody's town, because everyone who builds on the flip is going to have the same issue. And I know people want to, not me, so we sit on board, on the road, and there's 3 laterals coming through his house, the new house. There's 3 inside the house. Sure, but it doesn't take, because that's how it works. That's how it works. There's no secrets. And the word goes down, goes to the clean house.
Look at our leaves, property goes into the main. This is laterals, coming to laterals, connecting to laterals, dropping laterals, you know, over 250 feet. So a little bit more, and a lateral is typically 50 feet at most.
Ultimately, again, I agree, it's a little different than, maybe more than a little different than.
So it's subject to a lot of maintenance, issues, you know.
Right, and you can't look at construction today with construction that happened not even 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Some of those homes are very, very old. But it's just like what we deal with, in the flood zone. The rules have changed. The rules of engagement have changed. You can't be held to old rules. You have to build to the new rules, or else you're not building. I'm just stating the facts here. So, as our engineer has mentioned, DEP changes the rules of engagement every few years, and we have to abide by it. So, I'm frankly concerned. I don't want anyone building anything in the borough's right-of-way. I think our engineer's characterization is that they were likely for overhead lines. There are a lot of overhead lines in that area, right off Valley Street, behind the current homes that are there. I know JCP&L was in there trimming because a lot of the vines go up onto those electrical poles and the electrical lines. I'm saying what the right-of-way is there for. The engineer said,
back in 2021. I don't know how that with their information on it, but I just have. And that's where you guys can get a permit for us. Put the sewers in that, put the drawing. No secrets.
okay. I did not give out any permits, so don't say that I gave them out. Middletown gave you permits. Right.
But then you didn't also build up that wall that's there, does that make sure wall? And it's gonna be a problem. Who's gonna pay for that when it collapses on our property? We got a problem now. I'll fix it. Fix it. Make sure.
Right, we're talking about two different things.
So we have, okay, let's go back. We already have another 10 pilots of 10.
10, 20, yeah.
She already has a sewer line going down.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So it's not electric for that. That was not electric. The electric poles at the top of the hill. That's the sewer. Because you know, every house now has to be connected to the sewer. If there's a sewer connection. If you're saying, sorry, there's no sewer connection, put a second. A little bit closer, maybe. Look at the sewers. And it's going to be not just my job, it's their job on the hills. It's going to be common. No secrets. And you're gonna want the wall I put up to be quite a lot of walls around here because There's no, like you said, if I dig a flat 6-foot wall, I have to dig 10 feet to the mountain. If I do a grid wall, cheap, grid will look a lot more. You do a lot more, it's a crane, drops them in, you don't have to cut into the hill. Very little bit of stone to the drain. So I go back very few, maybe 5 feet back. But total, where if I went that same wall, I go back 25 feet with a grid wall, no grid, no grid walls. You have live grid walls out there. Live grid. Okay, not this half. Should be allowed. Okay.
I think to get back on the issue with sewer, if one concern is the construction, the applicant's going to construct, the other part of the maintenance and the applicant is going to maintain it. And the design and review of it is still going to come back to the borough engineer, the team in Ray, the treatment authority is going to review it also. There's a lot of checks and balances in the community there. We just want to get the sort of the consent to go back to the board of government. We didn't get, we didn't get something no at this meeting, basically.
So to be clear, what they're looking for is consent to build in the boroughs right away. Right. Okay?
I have to go to the right way for it, but the one proper location that we has not done properly. So,
Right, but you're confusing what's happening above on North Peak with what's happening below in the lower right of way. Yeah.
We already have a sewer line in the right of way. Not electric. I know you say electric, not electric. We have electrical up in the looking. We could all put a new, like, I already have a letter from the city, no, my electric from my homes. Put your hand up on the hill. No one's running up. So that's not true. It's sewer. Okay? We already have a water and gas up on the Portland Road, so we're not using these for gas or
Why are you talking about Portland Road? We're talking about North Peak. Okay.
We already have a utilities up there. We already have electric, gas, water. So if anybody needs up there that has a problem with this sewer line, I'm sure that other ones, they need to go back down that hill. They're gonna allow them to fix their, this electric $10,000. That they have to get new up to date. Can't they? Because it's on a flip. And then, we're trying to go with back on us. They have to, I know they are. I saw some people with, I saw it. But it is what it is, that's how it is. But I'm not asking for something because I feel like I'm going to like spending money, that's a good time. If I don't get it done, I have Joe expect him to no more to stop, but yeah, he's upset. I get it. I've been pissed off too. I've had our stuff like 3 times. It looks like nice. We gotta fix it. I can't do it. You can't ask me not to put the wall, and then let me fix it. You have to be okay to go to the right away. Stop, get it there so that he's happy, and then let me put more down there for my sewer lines. And that's what it's designed for. It's designed for the sewer lines.
So just so that everyone's aware, we're talking about 2 right-of-ways. There's the one on North Peak, and then there's the one down below. That is adjacent to Mr. Dorn's property.
And this is an all or nothing kind of,
Yeah, I mean, are we voting tonight on
well,
this or
even if it's all,
what?
even if.
Well, yes, they have to go back to the land use board. So I think if we look at it as 2 different things, which I think we have to, because they are 2 very separate things.
Right.
The right-of-way where improvements were made, but there's no record of it on any ordinance or resolution. If neighbors said that the borough did it, then, you know, most likely the borough did do it, and DPW did something. Maybe we can get some of the older guys to weigh in on that. But sorry?
There is also a survey showing a gas line under the encroachment.
A gas line where? On the below or above?
Below, the property where the encroachment is, that pavement that they're planning to borrow it, the gas line.
That's above, that's on North Peak.
It's on the.
Right.
So the gas company lost it.
Ah, okay.
They're extending the service.
Somebody did it, we don't know who it is. Right, back in the day, somebody did something. Great. I think what's happening above that is in the street of North Peak is a lot easier to deal with because it encroaches on the survey, although we would need to probably get a survey of our own just to confirm the boundaries of where exactly those encroachments are. I would not be opposed to that getting straightened out and having the asphalt that's currently there, that's on your property, be taken away.
Mayor, I think before we get too far into the weeds
Sure.
of discussing the potential solutions, we probably should open it up to the remainder of the public.
I will, but I just wanted to be 100% clear. We're dealing with two separate issues. Right-of-way that's on North Peak Street and the right-of-way that's below, that is next to other people's property. I know the property well. I've been up there quite a number of times. I don't know how you're possibly going to build this without being on everybody else's property that's below you, but that's not here or there. I'm only worried about the borough's right-of-way. So the one on the right-of-way on the below, that's on the cliff, that concerns me a great deal. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we've got two separate issues going on in this same ask. So thank you, gentlemen. Are there any other comments from either the council or our professionals before we ask members of the public to come?
Can you tell me again how long the run would be of the sewer that you're putting in?
It's that L.
Both going laterally and then coming down?
It's a lot.
Mhm.
You count, 275 feet.
It's going across.
Well, this is linear, so it's 275 in total.
Oh,
So it's, this one, the first run is about, I'd say 100, maybe 110, and then the second run is still linear. That's 170.
so 270 feet.
Yeah, in total, it's 270 feet in the line.
And how many manholes?
It ultimately,
Fine.
you have to have the current, which may change as we go through design and meet the DPT requirements, is 1, 2, 3, 4, to get us to the top of the hill. And then there's this. The reason for this step design is important.
Because of
To
the,
control the flow. You can, in theory, you could put a pipe on the slope and the water would go from top to bottom. We just get there a lot faster than we want. So we have an obligation to maintain the velocity, the safe velocity inside the sewers, and that's in part the result of the step down.
And I know what the faster flow if it's, so it has to slope down. And I understand that although it is a 270-foot lateral connection, it's by far the shortest route to existing sewer infrastructure
for this particular.
for this property. Right. The alternative would be all the way down North Peak Street, making a turn onto Valley and then connecting to really, almost the same location, but going much further down the street and disturbing a right of way that's not very wide to begin with. Impede access to the existing homes on North Peak Street during construction unnecessarily, and it would add a lot to the project. So, two single-family homes in a single-family residential district. This within a sewer service area. We're trying to solve for what is the most accessible, although it is challenging, the most accessible method to actually get sewage from.
Thank you.
And if any of the members of the public would like to weigh in on this, we could probably move that further down so everyone's not on top of each other.
Good evening, everyone. I'm over here. I'm an attorney with RC Shea & Associates. I represent Mr. Joseph Doran. He's the property owner of lots 10, 11, and 12, located directly to the rear railroad body. So, as the mayor said, what most concerns her is the improvements to the unnamed right-of-way. Well, that is what concerns me and my client as well, as that's what I'm here to speak to. You have asked the applicant, why over here? Why not run the sewer up through his own property? Why not figure out something else? And we've been told because it would add too much to the project, because it might require them to go a longer direction. I quite frankly don't know. That sounds like the applicant's problem to me. It does not sound like the borough's problem. It certainly does not sound like my client's problem. This sewer line and the associated retaining wall, which as far as that associated retaining wall, there's been very little presentation on that. That runs, you have about 10 feet of real estate, 5 feet of it is taken up by these manhole coverings. We're not sure how wide the foundations of that retaining wall are, but you said you've been out there. I've been out there myself. My client has represented. I do not know any way you're going to be able to construct this without affecting or having you actively go across my client's property. The planning board, we were there last time, the board engineer, and I believe there's a couple of correspondences from other townships. Many people have recognized that at the very least, the applicant is going to need an easement from my client in order to build this and likely to maintain this. And I told the planning board, as I'm telling you right now, my client intends on giving no such easement. And as far as other concerns on this property, I don't have money to advance it. You're all very familiar with the situation involving the drainage, and in fact, the applicant stood up here and admitted to it. We know there's a problem with drainage coming off this property, down that steep slope, and right into my client's backyard, down his side yard, down his driveway. I don't know if you've all received copies of my letter of objection to this, but I attached pictures to that as well. It's a mess. And they agree it's a mess. The part they're not telling you, I'm sure the history you're familiar with, we know the reason why it's a mess, because they cleared up their property. Plain and simple on that. So now, the applicant is here saying, I have to build this retaining wall to fix the problem. Well, it's problems they seem to have caused, or at the very least, exacerbating wildly. The sewer connection that is back there currently, I just want to correct this, I believe maybe the applicant misspoke. There is no sewer line that is currently running left to right, as it would be on this plan, through that right of way. That is not the case. There is one coming, what would be up and down on this plan that services lot 7, but there is none through that right of way back there right now through that slope. That is not the case. Again, I believe the applicant must have misspoke. So it is our position that the actions of this applicant have damaged my client's property repeatedly over the past couple of years. I know you're familiar with his story. He's been here telling it many times. We would urge that the borough deny him his request to build on that bottom right of way, especially since it seems like it can only lead to damaging my client's property even more with whatever construction is going to be needed here. That's all I have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for this gentleman? Joe, Andy, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
No.
No?
Joe.
Sure.
Just the board would like to have just very briefly involved. I've been here many times. I've lived in town for 35 years. I've never had a drainage problem until the property was basically denuded to the bone with burial. And that's when I started to have problems. And it was never adequate erosion control measures put into place. It's not even adequate today, even with all the hay-beds. They will deteriorate it, and the fence is crumbling as well. So, just very briefly, there was not a problem until Mr. Parkour took down all the trees and created the problem we have today. So he wants relief from the problem that he created. And there are two non-conforming lots. He says he to make them two conforming lots and to build two houses. It's basically fill up the steep slope and make it into a sandbox, basically. Plan it out, and build one house on the steep slope property, and one house where the old house is sitting at. I feel that the steep slope should be restored, put back to the way it was, as best that could be possible, and the one house be built up there. With the septic system. It's not the law, to my knowledge, that he has to build a house and connect to the sewer line system. Because of the problem with the topography. The reason he's asking to put in the retaining wall, the lower retaining wall, on the right of way is because of the topography, and we cannot put in a gravity fed sewer line without that retaining wall being built. So the sewer line would have to run through that in order to connect to make it a gravity fed sewer. So those are my brief comments. Thank you for your considerations. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public? Sure.
I'm Kerry Tunick. I'm a neighbor of Joe Dorn at 78 Valley Avenue. I'd like to speak in favor of his position on this for the reasons that his attorney stated. The other thing that I'd like to add, though, is that in my view, given how constrained the lower unnamed right-of-way is, and how challenging it would be to build anything there and not really impact the neighbors' properties. To me, it would be inappropriate for the town to outsource that to somebody else to do it. In my view, if it's really compelling interest of the town to do this, the town really should hire its own engineer and plan to hire its own contractor to build it. But if it doesn't meet that bar, then in my view, it's not appropriate, especially given all the constraints to have a contractor do it who, doesn't have a direct interest in the town's interest.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions, comments, thoughts?
And there's no alternative other than to consider these coupled, the wall and the sewer.
No, we can consider.
We could consider them separately.
Awesome. That's great. But I mean, I find the wall aspect very compelling. I think that is admirable as to what Mr. Farku is proposing here.
The upper wall.
On North Peak,
Yes.
That's for sure. I'm less certain as to the details around the sewer and too many open questions to say, I can have the same judgment on that.
And that would fix Mr. Doran's problem?
I don't think it would hurt, but I don't think it's one solution for everything.
I mean, we wouldn't be in this situation if as Mr. Doran said, it wasn't denuded, all the trees ripped out. How many years ago was that, Joe? 3-4 years ago that happened?
Almost 3.
Right. So it's a situation that was created, by the builder. And now we're trying to fix it, so. I'd do anything to help Joe because he's been in such problems for so long on this.
Well, I agree with you on the same thing, the wall, like you said, is gonna fix the whole problem, I mean.
Do it.
The upper wall.
Right.
It's not going to fix the whole problem.
Okay.
It'll fix a problem,
Right.
not the entire problem.
I would say it's a shame that the trees weren't left in place.
Yeah.
Until you had your solution.
And how did that happen?
So I do want to reiterate, I know council has provided us copies of the tree removal permits that were taken out years ago. And I do think we should, the trees were removed.
Right.
We're
We
in
can't
a
go back and
situation
grow them
where
back.
Either way, the proposals and the current solutions, we're not necessarily here to dwell on what happened in the past.
Yep.
So I think that should focus the governing body on what's being proposed here and, whether it can and should be granted tonight. And I imagine we would want to hear any closing or response from council before we go into any more further deliberation.
Sure.
Thank you. So, in response to the comments that you heard from our neighbors, Charlie has expressed his sympathy for the stormwater problems that exist. It's a problem that, frankly, Charlie inherited when he purchased the property. He didn't build the slope that exists. He didn't create gravity that pushes the water downhill. The issue that is happening down grade is going to be best solved by proposed improvements and the construction of the homes, storm tech chambers that are proposed, the roof leaders, the check dams, all of that. The requirement on the applicant under the law is that they maintain or reduce the amount of volume and rate of stormwater flow off the property. It could be 1%. The applicant, as shown in the drainage report, is going to be significantly reducing from the pre-development conditions. So once this is built, it's going to have a significant impact on the amount of water that's coming into the neighboring properties. So we feel that this is the best solution, not only for the borough, but also for our neighbors. And I hope that you feel that Charlie is sincere in saying that that is part of the goal of this whole application, is to solve an existing problem. So with regard to the sewer, I would just say it's not feasible that we could construct septic on these properties. It is a rule of law that we have to make a connection in a sewer service area. If it was feasible and we could do septic, we would consider it, absolutely.
Now, I hate to interrupt, but I am aware of at least one other situation in other towns that have, they're in the sewer service area, but they have constructed septic. Is there a formal requirement that you are compelled to connect, or are there exceptions where septic can go in? Because I know it has happened. Okay.
I believe it would be more couched as you have to demonstrate it's impossible. It's exceedingly rare, such that it's almost a reaction to dismiss it out of hand, but it's exceedingly rare to get a septic system approved in an area that's identified as a hazardous district.
And I just offhand, I have seen it, so I have to imagine there are exceptions, as you noted, but.
This site exists with septic now, whether the rule changed from now, whether the sewer service area was expanded to include these properties without consideration as to whether or not there was sewer there. But we'd have to go through the effort of amending the sewer service area, which, again, for two single-family homes, is probably perfectly an effort that is particularly very two homes can't solve the problem of the region not having sewer. But we can provide this extension, which in theory would also serve to benefit the neighboring lots. If their septic ever failed, what do they do? If they ever want to build another, it's my understanding that there's other developments off to the west or southwest that may have easements with the idea that if somebody ever does build this, they'll be able to. It's not entirely, I believe Ms. Roberts identified an easement that's existing somewhere along the neighbor's properties here that they get access to this. So it may turn into a benefit for the community beyond just this homes.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I'm not further.
Anything further from you? Do we have any other questions for Joe or Andy?
Just considering that proposal of it may turn into a benefit for other homes, it seems like an elaborate solution, even for just two homes. Like, how would we be able to determine the feasibility for it to support even more?
Fair question. The 8-inch The two homes would probably be serviced by one storm pipe.
Mm.
When we get to the point where we're making an application to DEP, the minimum pipe size they're going to accept is 8 inch. And that's not twice as much capacity, it's like
Factor.
sixfold.
Mhm.
It's multiple, it's orders of magnitude more capacity. So as a result, the system will, just by the nature of the requirement of the sewer service area application, be required to have significant capacity well beyond this homes.
And that proposed in perpetuity maintenance of that would extend to anybody else who would tap into it?
I imagine that would come out as part of the developer's agreement or small sewer utility sort of agreement that anybody that is connected or does connect will then share in the cost of potentially. One of the ways that I've seen this develop is the applicant builds it, and then anybody that connects to it would pay sort of their fair share back to the applicant for the burden for the cost of that initial installation. And once it's connected, they would also be required to support the maintenance of the system under whatever that agreement would be. The specifics of that are something that we would have to hash out between now and the constructor, the final approval of it, the resolution that allows us to build it. But it is certainly a consideration.
Am I to understand that the land use board they're just waiting for our approval? You've
Right,
got
because we have to give them permission to build on the right of way, or we don't give them permission to build on the right of way.
away. I see.
Because it's not their property, so they can't be building things on borough's property.
Usually the way that this, in my
Yeah.
experience, has progressed, you get the underlying land use approval first, and then that land use approval is conditioned on other outside agencies. That will include anybody that has any stake in any jurisdiction for anything improvements. So that would be soil erosion, it would be the water treatment facility, it would be county, there's an application required for county, even if they don't care about it. That would also then include any utility openings, road openings, permits, everything that would be required are all those conditions. In this case, we find ourselves in somewhat of an unusual scenario where the board has required us to come here first, rather than conditioning their approval on the borough's acceptance of these improvements or obtaining permits to construct these improvements. So we're sort of, you're exactly right, we're here sort of soon.
So you've explained all of this to the land use board, all the sewers that you have to do, all the different things you have to do, and they're okay with it? Is that what you're saying?
No, they did not approve.
They won't weigh in on the
Anything
sewer per
about-
se and more the specifics of the wall because they're not literally part of, they're deferring to the council.
Governing
which is
body.
fair,
Understood,
Because
yeah.
it's in the council's record.
Because of the land.
Yeah,
Right, so the board is reviewing the applications about the lots themselves, and then they refer to the council regarding the details.
So we've received no approval from the land use board yet. We're currently in the process of having hearings, and we'll be returning to the land use board next month.
Okay.
Why is the steep slope application as always this is already done by
Previous submitted as part of the land use application. I have a copy
did you not see that?
in my file.
No, okay.
Because I'm just wondering, because the other thing is to do steep slope stabilization, or steep slope, application gets in the block lot, and that'll be on something that was sanitary. It's kind of outside of what we do, because you're putting this drop system, you're going to submit it down 9 feet, but that's not going to be a steep slope, because that's out of the block lot. So you say like bottom cracks.
Yes.
That's not acceptable. I don't know if that falls in, I haven't submitted anything about construction part, so it's just, you know, right away.
Yeah, the applicant would absolutely stipulate that you should have review capacity over all.
I think it's an administrative question, am I getting that right?
I just don't know where it is, I don't know where they are on the process.
So the requirement, so we've already submitted this plan and application. I'm going to really quickly go into the specifics of the land use board application, but we've evaluated the slopes as a requirement based on the steep slope ordinance that I believe we're referring to, that there's no similar requirement to submit this application for the right of way here and the right of way behind.
That's what I'm saying.
That kind of, yeah, I understand.
Right, so you saw a pretty picture ends at their property.
Which is basically what it's requiring. So we're kind of in limbo, or I imagine I think we know what we're getting at here, but if I can sum it up, there's a requirement to submit a steep slope application or permit application as part of the land use, which is focused solely on the land that you're developing. Since there is no mechanism for preparing a steep slope analysis for lands that are not owned by the applicant, there isn't right now a steep slope application. If there needs to be more information provided regarding the slopes along the two runs, or the right-of-way, the repeat right-of-way, and the unnamed right-of-way to the reader, I imagine that would come up as part of the building department application. This area needs to be further surveyed and studied and designed, so that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Regarding those elements.
It was specific, as it relates to percentage of disturbance, a lot of these steep slope areas that might be part of that, this is built that, so they would have variance for what we consider the disturbance percentage. So 0.35 would be typical amount, so it's a great reduction. But to put it in that slope and that sanitary system, they're going to be exposing the entire thing. Unless, if you be decent constructing the entire slope,
I think that part of the steep slope analysis focuses on the previous coverage, and I imagine part of that's sort of removing some of the management, not necessarily specifically a part of it. What the steep slope analysis results in is a reduction in the, I'll say, allowable or permissible impervious coverage of lot development on the lot. The utilities aren't on the lot, or under the ground, and I was sort of sounds semantic, we're going to end up clear some of it as well with the construction improvements, but we're going to have to put the vegetation back in the. There are ways to keep that area stabilized through construction, whether it's through matting or seeding as we go. There's ways to handle that, and that would, I imagine, also, kind of the footprint of this would potentially be its own separate application for soil erosion, and they probably also get a shape at the specific construction method and the techniques that we're using to control soil erosion during and after. They don't just look at the soil erosion control, the whole they review it, the district reviews it. They review the site as it is during construction and then post-construction. So they get the whole picture. A lot of analysis focus on pre and post exclusively, but they actually do control some of that during construction.
Just like to address one more thing, is that the applicant need variance relief for doing these improvements in the right way that would be in excess of the steep slope ordinance requirements.
So typically we have 5,000 square foot property, whatever. And then there's typically you're allowed, on the cover sheet what's the standard percentage of disturbances for that block of lot. And steep slope, that gets reduced by a percentage point, which allows the slope to not be completely upended and stabilized. What I'm saying is the utility improvements within the federal right of way would require more than likely over 80% of that right of way to be deconstructed, sheeted, and then installed your sand. There's no other way to do it. So I just don't know necessarily how that falls in, but I just want to make the council alert that we would be deconstructing pretty much a narrow pathway on the slope, and then have to reestablish it after the site improvements.
Yeah, that's the challenge. The good news is that the borough doesn't need variances for doing this work within its own right away, and the applicant will be doing it on the borough's behalf with approval. So just from a process standpoint, at least I envision that we wouldn't need any type of variance relief to do that work in the right of way. It would just be subject to borough review.
Right.
Yes, it would be subject to the borough, not abiding by the typical rules that they establish for residents. That's, you'd be disturbing our rules.
Does would anyone like to jump out there with a motion on how to proceed?
I still feel two separate issues, and two separate opinions on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that statement. I think the upper right-of-way is by far easier. I think that could be handled without too much of a problem. If the road was poured on the applicant's property, then that should be removed. The applicant wants to make that improvement to the timber that's falling apart. I think that should, I'd have no problem with that.
Agree.
Are we all agreed on that?
Yeah.
There's a clear benefit, it's a very straight line to draw.
Yep. The lower portion is, in my opinion, a great deal different. I think our engineer has brought up a lot of issues that I really don't feel comfortable with any sort of construction being built on the borough's right-of-way. I think this sewer run with, what was it, 275 feet laterals, I think that is a problem. And I think it's going to open us up into more problems. Yeah, that odd way of it going down. And I don't think we should be giving permission to build on borough's right-of-way.
I also think that there are two alternatives that were just discussed, one being going down North Peak, and obviously not necessarily in the best interest of the developer, but an option. And then also the claim that you can't do septic seems to be an open question. It might be a challenge, but it's not without an alternative to just this one and only way to go through the right-of-way.
Correct. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I agree.
Okay. As am I.
So I think we should probably have just a motion to formalize that, and from what I'm hearing, it would be to authorize the applicants to proceed with their application as it pertains to the North Peak Street right-of-way, but to deny the request to the extent it seeks to use the lower 10-foot
Correct.
right-of-way.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
So we agreed, right?
Hmm?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Councilmember Black?
Yes.
Councilmember Melvin?
Yes.
Council President Sessions?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Motion carries to allow the upper right-of-way, but not the lower right-of-way. To put it very bluntly. and very-
We'll clean that language up.
very quickly.
That's the idea.
Okay.
Thank you for your time and attention. This is going to allow us to get back to the board. We certainly have our work cut out for us with how we could design sewer. Potentially the fact that the council is not agreeable to sewer in the right away will allow some avenue for some septic or another alternative. And we're going to do our best to make that design work. And we're hoping that this entire project is going to be beneficial to the borough and for neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mayor's report.
Oh, boy. 8:30. Okay. Okay. News from our newly formed Henry Hudson School District. We will be having a non-binding referendum on the ballot on November 5th on whether to continue to explore regionalization with Seabright. For our emergency services, our calls answered were First Aid Squad 50, Fire 44, and Police 945. Code enforcement, we had 10 summons, 6 warnings, 20 reports, 28 inspections, 25 permits, and 1 OPR request answered. For the building departments, we had 39 inspections, of which 31 passed, 4 failed, and 4 were not ready, and we issued 15 permits. Grants won so far this year are a little bit over $151,000. For borough events, go to the recreation page and also highlandsnj.com to find out what's going on in town. For the Army Corps project, there will be a non-binding referendum on the ballot as well, so this will be question 2. I think it's question 2. Nancy, is it 1 or 2? Doesn't matter. There will be 2 questions on the ballot looking for your input. So check that. For the gazebo, that was taken down on June 24th. A new one was delivered on July 7th. We have yet to install electric and get those ADA ramps installed. I'm sure everyone has noticed that Linden Avenue curbs and sidewalks look really amazing. We're going to have a change order because we are going to fix that section of Water Witch and Shore Drive right on the corner where that there's a well that just the water comes over and the kids slip, and then in the wintertime it freezes and it's ice. That's where all the kids come down from the grammar school. So we are able, as part of this project, to finally solve that problem that's been going on forever. North Street valve, are we still looking to?
Put in a proposal.
Right.
We're waiting until after.
Okay.
That's still, it could be on the list again.
Right, so we're looking to get one of these, they're called inline check valves, and so we would put them in at the end of the run, so that when it's high tide, our streets don't flood. We're going to test them out on North and Valley streets, and if they work there, we'll start looking at a program to gradually get all of our outfalls taken care of with that. The wonderful sanitary sewer project, replacing our sewers that was installed in 1925. All of the sewer work has been done. Right now, we are doing the replacement of sidewalks, curbs, and after that, we'll be paving of Central Beach and Ocean. And then right after Linden Avenue is paved and done, the county is going to come and pave from the top of Linden all the way to the Circle by Bars. Hopefully that'll be a September thing, but we'll see as soon as the county gives us the date. Speaking of the county, Jones Creek dredging, we have to work with the CFO to see how we are going to pay for that. They gave us a whopping estimate, so we're going to have to see how we can make that work in our current year's budget, or if some of it has to spill out into next year. Updates to Veterans Park. I saw a lot of really excited kids playing basketball this morning on the new basketball court. So those hoops and backboards went in on August 14th. The last bit is delivery of solar lighting and those solar picnic tables like we have over at the rec center. Those are supposed to be coming in September. And we also need to, we're waiting for our irrigation guy to come and repair the irrigation in the planting beds over at Feds. I'm just trying to read through everything here. I guess for our large, the brick study, the brick work, which is updating, oh boy, all of the flood mitigation, a new pump over by Jones Creek, update our current 2 pumps, working with Monmouth Hills to get that runoff. We're in the middle of our environmental assessment, and that should be completed around March of 2025, and then final DEP review will begin after the environmental assessment is over. Kathy Shaw is here. She continues to chip away at the CRS issue to help us get ourselves certified with the county. Waiting to get that meeting with FEMA 2 done. And I believe that is it for my report.
You hit everything I was gonna talk about.
Did I steal all your thunder?
I'll let you go first next time, Mike.
Yes, you can go first next time. Like I mentioned earlier, we're still looking for a bunch of new grants for some more improvements all around town. So, hopefully we get them, and then we can get cracking on some new stuff.
Mike, I have one question. I think it was in your last report. You mentioned you had a meeting with possible developers at Shadow Lawn. Did that ever come of anything? Any update?
We had a meeting back, I want to say in June, and then I got a call again, probably about, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, from the original people that were looking to build.
Oh.
He was asking me for some information. He said he had a meeting with the owners, and he would get back to me about, what happened at the meeting. Never heard from him again.
Okay.
So,
Well, but that's good.
Well, it's better to have two interested parties
Yes.
than just one interested party. Yeah,
Good. All right.
good deal.
What else?
Okay, public portion statements?
Individuals wishing to address the council shall be recognized by the presiding officer and shall give their name, address, and the group of entity they represent. Although the council encourages public participation, it reserves the right, through its presiding officer, to terminate remarks to and/or by any individual not in keeping with the conduct of a proper and efficient meeting. If any individual refuses to conduct themselves in a proper manner, they will be removed from the meeting. The council will not, during the public portion of this meeting, discuss matters involving employment, appointment, termination of employment, negotiations, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of the performance of, promotion or discipline of any specific or prospective or current employee. There's a 3-minute time limit for your comments.
If you could just state your name and address for the record.
George Davis, 49 Sound Avenue, West House, New Jersey. I prepare to take an attempt to be brief. Good evening, Mayor and members of council and borough officials. My name is George Davis, I live in White County, New Jersey. Born and raised in White County, as well as lived half my life in Highland as well, where we just hang out uptown or in the parks or fishing. Highlands and White Counties are my life. I'm here today regarding Peter White's memorial. As some of you may or may not be aware, a friend of mine, Peter White, passed away sometime about last year. And back in June, I believe around June 10th, a plaque was installed at the skate park. And as I understand it, this plaque was installed by the borough, and it remained there for approximately a month. At which time, through apparent complaints or whatever reason may have been, the plaque was removed. And I can understand many of the concerns that members of the public might have, or any type of complaints that striking officials might have to deal with. I can understand that. However, what's disheartening and upsetting to me is the fact that this plaque was put up, it remained up, it was put up by the borough, and not only then was it ripped down, and as far as I can see, we don't have much of a recourse to get it reinstated. And that's why I'm here tonight, to request that if the council is so inclined to vote a motion of support or to reinstall Peter White's plaque at the skate park in a more permanent fashion than how it was previously mounted to the fence. I know there's lots of people, professionals, lots of heroes of all across the board that could be delivering something like this. I'm not here to debate that. And I also know that Peter White had a checkered past. He was my best friend in high school. And I wasn't so lucky to have people around me that I did. My life could have turned out a lot differently. his story is not a lone story. It's not a unique story. It's one that's happened repeatedly all across our community, all across New Jersey. As some of you may know, I graduated Hudson in 2015. So just to get out, I'm simply referencing my age and my generation. Throughout that time, I can count at least 7 people in our communities who are my age, who passed in similar circumstances through devices of their own. And although many people might be wary of putting something in place that might remind, especially if this is the apartment, that might remind children of other problems that people have gone through that might not be the best influence. In my opinion, for people who knew, it'll be a place of remembrance. And for people who did not know, they'll look at it as coincidence. Someone will just rave about it. When New York was a little crazy sometimes, they'll know as the kid who would always be at skate park doing the best trips in the country, showing all the kids who didn't know how to ride, and someone who, quite frankly, had an impact on everyone my age. You cannot talk to anyone in the Highlands, Atlantic Highlands, and much Middletown in our age group who did not know Pete and did not love him. So that's all that I have to say. And again, if the council is so inclined, I would humbly request that a vote is made to reinstate.
Thank you.
Michael Cannon, 10 Central Ave. 2 items. The first one is related to the improvement district revisions. Is it possible that before anything goes to the land use board or to the, comes up for a vote as an ordinance, to prepare some reader's guide of what has changed between this plan and the old one? It's very tense. It's very hard to make a comparison and understand what we're looking at without some sort of guidance to what has changed in the document. The other item is that I note that you are installing additional check valves. I have a question as to why the flat valve at Jones Creek has been left open through the various coastal flood lands and events that have occurred over the last few days during the high tide. The valve is tied open, winched open, and while I agree that having it open in some occasions, when the tide is not going to be substantially elevated, will provide some environmental benefits and some flushing of the water quality in the creek. It should be closed during high tides. The water has flooded back through the inlets all the way up to Bay Avenue. Having to drive through salt water when there is no reason for that to happen is very disconcerting to me.
Joe, can you?
Yeah, so I know in terms of the heavy storm events that have happened in the last few weeks, there was a significant, I mentioned earlier, trying to county without a permit or trying to dredge it. Basically, half of Jones Creek has been basically filled in with years and years of relief. So the capacity of Jones Creek to handle that stormwater was at risk and basically backing up into those same streets. So when we did have the heavy rains, it was decided to open it up. And in terms of what I one of the senior members of DPW, he was there at 1 in the morning, getting coffee at Quick Check, and Jones Creek drained faster than it's ever drained in his tenure as a member of DPW. So he basically left Quick Check, came back, and everything was flushed out. In terms of smell, quality, right now, in terms of draining out Jones Creek, that is the goal. That tie valve is a very heavy cast iron, it's not a flat valve. We're working on getting one of those installed that would be self-maintaining. So right now there is a decision to close there some time. It's not that simple. But right now, for the ease of ecologically flushing the system, it's been decided to be left open because even though Jones Creek is getting inundated during the tide, it's temporary and it goes back out. The more severe flooding has occurred when the stormwater is trapped. You can't drain. There's blackness on it. It opens 2 inches and then it drips. So it's allowing the water to evacuate faster. It's being monitored. If we do know of significant storms that are coming, such as a hurricane, DPW is coordinating with borough officials whether or not to close it and open it. This past week, those discussions happened, and they decided to leave it open for the sake of, we know it's going to drain, let's keep it open and monitor it right now. And we're still monitoring it each and every high tide event. This week there was high level coastal activity, and basically they thought that the value of letting it drain out versus being held back with our stormwater and compounding the problem. That's one where the decision has to be made. We need more research on how the creek is going to react, and we're just in the process. But we are looking at getting as we mentioned, an inline check valve on Jones Creek to replace the one that's there.
I don't quite understand how an inline check valve would work in that location, but I do think that in the event of a coastal flood warning, it makes perfect sense to close that gate. There should be a written policy of how you're going to address that management. You're going to make a decision to leave it open. And I also would was there any grant application used in the construction of that gate that may have any encumbrances on its use and maintenance? I can't speak to that.
No, that was done with the borough funds.
And then the other thing with the amount of sand that has built up.
I'll double check it though.
Around the Jones Creek. One of the real key issues with that is sand blowing directly off the beach into the creek, particularly in the winter. As a major source of that. And last year, there were no snow fences put up on the beach. First time in the 7 years I lived right there on Central Ave. And so that was a major source of all that sand entering the creek, that there were no snow fences and or sand barriers put up. And they should be put up in a way that it's not only keeps the sand from blowing into the streets, but directly protects the sand going from the beach. The west wind, northwest wind comes straight across the beach right into the creek. And that is a major source of where that sand came from. That there were no snow fences on the beach over the entire last winter.
Yeah, we could take care of that.
And
I'm just going to confirm that there was no grant funding for that project. That was done with our capital improvement money.
And then my last question is with the GRIP grant. You mentioned that there's an environmental assessment underway. Will that be, does that need the environmental assessment and will be there for public comment according to federal rules?
Yeah, I think based on the timeline, it was going to be sometime around
March. Yeah.
holidays to the public comment.
Right.
But the final report was in March. So,
So the draft environmental assessment, because I think, I have significant concerns with the configuration of that pump station. I really believe that cutting off the gravity drainage and trying to pump over that low tide is going to have a tremendous detrimental effect on the sand and be pushing sand directly into the channel and contribute to erosion of the beach and be a hazard to anyone in the area with the velocities that they are discharging at. Their enforcement seems undersized and at least in the grant application, and we're going to have extremely high velocities. So I have very concern with the environment and the configuration of that pump station.
Okay. Thank you.
Taylor Way, 18 Central Avenue. Back in June, my son passed away. My husband and I came here and we asked to have his son honored in the plaque at the skate park, where I fought for the first one to be built. The plaque was put up. I received a message from the mayor. Not sure if you noticed, the plaque was put up at the DPW on Tuesday. I was away, unfortunately, so I wasn't there when it was put up. That was on June 13th. On July 19th, I received a phone call saying that the plaque was on, so I called the police. I also messaged the mayor and asked him to call me that the plaque was stolen, 911. I didn't hear back from her. Until a couple hours later, she sent me a message and said that the borough administrator had it removed because of any complaints. Here is his number and his extension. I still haven't heard any of the complaints, had any, 15, 20, I don't know how many meetings. A couple hours later, the mayor proceeded to send me another message saying that she was made aware of my son's judgment against him in October of 2018 and ordered the plaque to be removed. Obviously, it wasn't the borough administrator that ordered it removed, the mayor did. Had I been honest with her, she would have told me the plaque was inappropriate. So she had it removed. She also would think it would be helpful if I removed my post and my petition with an attachment that my son's record is full of knowledge. I know my son's record is full of knowledge. I was never asked any questions by anyone about my son's history. I gave my son's addiction, his disease, his mental health. No one asked me anything. Not one of you. So for you, Ms. Mayor, to say, if I were to be truthful to you, what was I untruthful about if you didn't ask? My son loved this town and loved that skate park. I don't know what these complaints are, but if they are about his criminal activity and the charges he pled guilty to, then so be it. But that person blamed 5 other people that she couldn't name. My son Peter was somebody, and my voice is going to be heard for my son. He had a rough life. I found out things later on after his death that he went through that I didn't know about as a parent. And I'm very, very hurt by everyone, especially you, Mayor, by blaming the borough administrator, then saying hours later, you took it down. You shouldn't have blamed him. He shouldn't have gotten the phone calls. You should have came to me. I would like something done.
And that will close public portion.
Executive session. Executive session will be held following the regular council meeting. Prior to each executive session, the Borough Council will convene an open session, at which time a resolution will be adopted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-13. No formal action will be taken during the executive session. Resolution to enter executive session. Be it resolved that the following portion of this meeting shall not be open to the public. Be it further resolved that private consideration is deemed required and is permitted because of the following note exceptions set forth in the Act. Litigation. Be it further resolved that it is anticipated that the matters to be considered in private may be disclosed to the public at a later date when the need for privacy no longer exists.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Executive session entered at 8:55.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned at 9:02. Thank you, everyone.